Why do people in general, do bad things? Why do people lie, cheat, steal, obfuscate, murder? All kinds of the usual horrible things that have taken place, continue to take place in this morality play that we call life. Well, I suppose my point of view is one that I've summed up in an earlier video. I agree with Socrates when he allegedly said, "It is impossible to know what is right and yet still do what is wrong." Now, that's just a hypothesis, and I have no way of proving or disproving this. But what I would like to do is try to examine, if in as much as it's possible, the idea of understanding someone else's motivations for what they're doing. Now, we've all been in situations where we sort of think, okay, this person is doing what they're doing for the wrong reasons. Okay, for the sake of argument, I'll say the usual glaring case these days is 9/11, Osama bin Laden, whatever. He's a bad guy who is doing bad things. The attack on the Twin Towers was carried out by people that are fundamentally evil or flawed in their thinking. Well, I would say that ironically, that kind of thinking in and of itself is a justification for what Osama and the 9/11 terrorists did. Because at the bottom of their philosophy is the idea that some people are just plain evil. Some people know what's right and yet do what's wrong. Now, I would say that we don't know whether or not anyone is doing that because we can't creep into their head to find out what their motives are. We don't know. We can see what they do and see the results of what they do and say, okay, I don't like that that has happened, and I'm going to take steps to restrain that from happening again, even if it means coercing or, in certain cases, eliminating that other person. I'm not preaching moral relativism here. What I'm saying, nor am I preaching inactivity. Far from it. I believe that life has to be lived. We still have to have prisons, armies, cops, what have you. There's so far, because of the imperfections of our ability to deal with each other, we sometimes have to restrain or coerce, force our will upon others. What I'm trying to get at here is I want to see if it's possible to understand why people who do things that we don't like do them. Seen from the perspective of the world is made up of good and bad people, like I said, Osama and the 9/11 terrorist suicide bombers were doing potentially the right thing. What they were doing was moral and correct. Because if you accept certain basic premises, i.e., first of all, the idea that some people are just plain evil, B, the idea that it is possible to identify who these evil people are, and C, you are willing to take the appropriate steps, even at the cost of your own life, to rid the world of them, you have, in a sense, justified 9/11. Or, at the very least, you have said, these people have the right idea, but the wrong target. This goes for the killing fields of Cambodia. This goes for the Holocaust. This goes for any movement or philosophy that seeks to simply eliminate someone who is identified as defective, evil, disruptive, whatever. Because the philosophy underpinning all of these is we know who the bad people are, and we're going to deal with them one way or another. So again, deciding that some people are bad, evil, dishonest, duplicitous, making moral choices that they know are wrong, we are justifying the Holocaust. We are justifying Auschwitz. We're just saying that they got the wrong people. Now, what is wrong with this idea that some people are just plain evil? Well, I won't say that there's anything wrong in and of itself, but I will say that it's a blind alley, because we don't have any way of determining whether or not somebody is good or someone is evil. We can go by their words and actions, but in their moral universe, the universe that they live in, what they're doing could make perfect sense. If you take a fellow like Saddam Hussein, everything that I've seen of the fellow, I'm not an expert on him, but I've done a bit of reading on his life, career, etc. My take on him, could be wrong, is that he agrees with the philosophy that says, in this world you are either the hammer or the anvil. In other words, you're either on top or you're down in the mud being crushed down into it. You're either the perpetrator or the victim. So, if you accept that philosophy, if you actually believe it, then a lot more of what Saddam Hussein did makes sense. It also justifies Nazi Germany, because that was essentially what they said. Du musst Ambos oder Hammer sein. You must be hammer or anvil, by Goethe. Or they took that to a racial extent, saying that there are good and bad races, strong and weak races, etc. But at the end of the day, that's just a choice to look at the world in a certain way, or maybe not even a choice. Maybe circumstances have taught people that, from their own experiences, you think that the meanest, nastiest person out there is inevitably on the top, so the only reasonable thing to do is to be the meanest, nastiest person yourself. Now, that's not to say that that anyone doing this is evil. It's just a certain way of looking at the world. And again, I'm not saying that we don't do anything about people like this, or people like this. See, I'm falling into the habit of doing that too. What I'm saying is it behooves us to make sure that we see these people, or to see our limitations, to see them for what they are. Because we don't know what somebody else's motive is, and we cannot, in the very nature of things, know. We can't crawl into their soul. We can't see the world from their eyes, through from their point of view. We can't do that. So I can say that I don't like what this person is doing or saying, and I will take steps to prevent what I believe his desires or plans to come to fruition, or I don't like what he's doing right now, so I will step in to physically restrain, fight, or thwart him. But whether or not he is evil, I will never know. Whether or not he is good is something that will always remain a complete mystery to me. Moral choice, motivation are complete unknowns. We will never know whether or not the guy next to us is good or is evil. Thank you.